Thanks for coming out
Imagine being a famous reality TV star. You spend your days hunting for lost Aztec gold and investigating paranormal mysteries on national television. You have fame, money, and a family. But what happens when the paranormal mysteries you hunt on TV start bleeding into your actual reality? What happens when you start believing you have real-life superpowers and that it's your duty to become a real-life executioner? This is the chilling true story of a reality star who snapped, leading to one of the most bizarre and tragic jailhouse murders in American history. Meet Chad. In his early 40s, Chad was living out an adventure most people only dream of. He was one of the stars of the hit Discovery Channel show, Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch. Alongside his dad, Chad lived on a massive ranch in Utah where they spent their days digging for lost treasure and hunting for ancient Aztec artifacts. The show heavily leaned into the unknown. They investigated paranormal activity, UFOs, and local curses. Chad was a thrill seeker by nature. But off-camera, things were far darker. The lines between reality TV and actual reality were beginning to blur, and Chad's mental health was quietly deteriorating. By 2024, the cracks started to show. One night in Amarillo, Texas, Chad blew straight through a red light on his Harley-Davidson, right in front of an unmarked police car. Instead of pulling over, Chad took the cops on a high-speed chase. He eventually ditched the bike and ran, but the police caught him. Fast forward a few months to 2025, and he's arrested again in Utah for speeding with an invalid license. But traffic violations were the least of his problems. Chad had begun to develop a terrifying delusion. He started believing that he had superpowers. Specifically, he thought he could look right through a person's soul and see if an evil spirit lived inside them. He called these people predators. This delusion completely destroyed his personal life. He accused his ex-wife and his own children of being these demonic predators and even threatened to murder them. Horrified, his ex-wife got a strict restraining order, barring him from ever contacting them again. After his family cut him off, Chad essentially vanished. His family, knowing how bad his mental state was, filed a missing persons report. He was eventually found wandering, safe in Albuquerque, New Mexico, but for some unknown reason, he immediately traveled to Las Vegas. Chad checked into the luxurious Encore Hotel, but mid-trip, his credit card declined. Instead of packing his bags, Chad completely lost it. He barricaded himself inside his hotel room and refused to let anyone in. Hotel staff called the police, and Chad was arrested yet again. Because he had skipped out on his prior court dates back in Texas, he had an active warrant out for his arrest. This made him a fugitive of justice. The Vegas cops transported him to the Clark County Detention Center to await extradition. And this is where the story turns fatal. Because the jail was severely overcrowded, Chad was placed in a cell with a man named Christopher. Christopher wasn't a violent criminal. He was just serving a short 6-month sentence for a probation violation tied to a theft charge. He had zero history of violent or heinous crimes. For a while, the two actually got along fine. No fights, no issues. But then Chad's superpower delusion kicked into overdrive. Looking at his cellmate, Chad became absolutely convinced that Christopher was a predator, a dangerous child abuser holding a dark secret. Chad knew he was scheduled to be released from jail soon. In his twisted reality, he felt it was his superhero duty to rid the world of this monster before he left. He had to act fast. One afternoon, the two men got into a heated argument. Exhausted, Christopher climbed into the top bunk, turned his back to Chad, and tried to go to sleep. Without warning, Chad lunged. He locked Christopher in a brutal chokehold from behind. Christopher woke up in a panic, thrashing and screaming for help. Other inmates in the block heard the terrifying struggle, but because everyone was locked in their cells, nobody could intervene. Chad held his grip until the cell went entirely silent. Believing his mission was complete, Chad moved Christopher's body to the bottom bunk and covered him with a blanket to make it look like he was asleep. But here is the most shocking part. The Vegas jail was so wildly understaffed that for 8 full hours, guards walked past the cell and noticed absolutely nothing. It wasn't until a routine check 8 hours later that the horrifying discovery was made. When police interrogated him, Chad didn't hide a thing. He proudly confessed, claiming he had successfully eliminated a predator. Chad Ollinger claimed he didn't care if he spent the rest of his life behind bars, as long as the evil was gone. But there would be no dramatic trial. Chad was medically evaluated and found legally incompetent to stand trial. The reality star, whose life revolved around hunting for buried treasure, is now buried within the psychiatric ward of the prison system, likely for the rest of his life. If you found this story crazy, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the dark side of reality. See you in the next video.